Hello, welcome to Holistically Speaking. I'm your host, Morella Devost. My mission, or our mission with Holistically Speaking, is to be the avenue through which the voices of holistic health reach you at the times you need it most. I wanted to have a show today on cancer again. Through the month of September, we had 4 shows focusing on cancer, having as guests different practitioners who work with people who have had cancer or have experienced cancer themselves. And we learned a lot through their different approaches and their fields of study. We had a naturopathic doctor, Dr. Bill Warnock, share with us the naturopathic perspective and how he works with people with cancer. We had the Chinese medicine perspective. We learned how Chinese medicine deals with cancer, not because they diagnose cancer, but they actually call the condition we know as cancer, they call it heat, and how they treat heat. We also had the chiropractic perspective. We had Dr. Heather Rice share with us how chiropractic can help nervous system health and how nervous system health and stress management are essential for proper healing of the body and obviously dealing with cancer or helping a body deal with cancer. And we also had a woman, Christine Walsh Egan, share with us her personal experience dealing with breast cancer, how she as a health coach and a very healthy person navigated that situation. And so we covered a lot of different perspectives, and I wanted to have a little bit of a summary show and also share with you different strategies, different treatments, or even different modalities that we didn't get to talk about. So that's what I wanted to bring to you today. And in doing some of the research for today, I found this quote by a Canadian doctor that presents a little bit of the challenge in the availability of information. And his words are pretty radical sounding. The name of this doctor is Abram Hoffer. He just recently passed away, and he said, in his words, he says, "The medical profession today is a mess. It's been taken over by drug companies. They're controlling medical research, and their principal concern is to make money." And so when I shared that, the words are pretty harsh in a certain way. But the truth is that a lot of we know in terms of medicine and medical research is really based on the majority of research that's conducted. And the truth is that the majority of the research funds go into studying drug approaches, drug treatments, and other treatments that can then, have a payout so that somebody is recovering their investment in the research. So there isn't a lot of research fund that goes into looking at alternative treatments. The alternative treatments really don't get equally funded, and therefore are many times questioned as valid because they simply haven't had the data behind them. And so most of the data behind it is anecdotal, it's case studies. So you might find a book like something I'll share with you later, case studies by Dr. Max Gerson, and he has a book called 50 Case Studies in Treating Cancer, through his approach and how all of those responded. So what I wanted to share with you today are different approaches, different treatments that you can research yourself and see whether these are approaches that you might want to consider if cancer is something that you're currently dealing with. But before we get into that, I also want to share with you a summary of the preventive strategies that the practitioners we had on the show shared with us. And so we'll start with, and Anju, if you can show us that first slide for our viewers to see. The first step in cancer prevention is looking at foods. And you want to consider adding lots of color in your foods and cooling foods, as Brendan Kelly, our acupuncturist, shared. Cooling foods, colorful vegetables and fruits, fish, omega-3 fats, and nuts. These are all the foods that you want to be adding more of into your diet from a cancer prevention perspective. And you want to minimize the heating foods such as sugar, coffee, alcohol, red meat, fried foods, excess cooked starches. All of this, from the food perspective, essentially what you're looking to do is to minimize inflammation. It's what Brendan Kelly, in the acupuncturist view, the Chinese medicine view, calls reducing heat. And so reducing heat from a food perspective is all about adding more vegetables, adding more cooling foods like the fish and omega-3 fats, and reducing the foods that tend to promote heat like red meat and sometimes even spices that are very heat promoting. So that's the first strategy. The second strategy, if you can show us Andrew again, the second strategy has to do with your mental and emotional state. And so the mental and emotional state has been researched a lot in terms of looking at how we cultivate positive thoughts that lead to positive emotions. Meditation, laughter, or practicing meditation and looking to laugh more are strategies that help us get our nervous system out of a place of constant tension and stress, which is the norm in our modern lifestyle. We talked a lot about that with both Brendan Kelly and Heather Rice, where in our modern lifestyle we are so stressed, so constantly on the go, so constantly running, that we're in a sense overheating the body. But also from a nervous system perspective, we're not really fostering a place where the nervous system can gather and orchestrate the resources for healing. And so whether it's meditation, going out to a comedy show, prayer, or silence or sleep, all of these different things that help to bring your nervous system out of that fight or flight, chronically stressed response into a more peaceful, serene, relaxed state that will help to garner all of your healing resources is critical. So then the third strategy for prevention, let me pull it up on my computer here and you can see it on the screen. The third strategy for prevention relates to that lifestyle factor, where not just the mental and emotional aspects that you can work on through meditation and all of that, but also the lifestyle factors like your friendships and your leisure activities, playing, and obviously fitness, and cultivating deep sleep and taking breaks throughout your day. That all of those elements that we associate with the idea of living a balanced lifestyle. And as Heather Rice mentioned, the importance of deep sleep, having good quality sleep every single night, is essential for all of us, but especially if you're dealing with an acute illness and a serious health issue such as cancer would be. The next thing that is really critical for cancer prevention has to do with vitamin D optimization. And if you're looking at the summary here, the ideal levels that you want to be aiming for are 40 to 70 nanograms per milliliter. That should be an NG, not an MG. And the test is 25 OHD. So that's a vitamin D level test that you can ask your doctor to prescribe for you, so you can be aware of what your levels are. And then supplementation, typically the recommendations are between 2,000 and 7,000 international units per day for most adults. That's roughly about 35 international units per pound of body weight. And from a cancer perspective, vitamin D, it's shown to be a factor that helps to reduce cellular proliferation, induces cell differentiation, and it induces cell death or apoptosis, which means when a cell self-destroys because it knows it's sick or not working well. And so all of those are pathways in which vitamin D is believed to help with cancer. As you're looking at this slide, in keeping cells healthy, I'm going to come back to the vitamin D topic in a second, but the essentials of keeping cells healthy have to do with taking lots of antioxidants through food, and the majority of the antioxidants are coming to us through the colors in nature. All of the multitude of colors in nature, we're talking about greens and oranges and reds and blues. This is why you've heard of blueberries and cherries being cancer preventive, and of course the greens and green vegetables. You also want to be drinking lots of clean water. Maybe you need to look into getting a really good water filter or finding a really good clean source of water. Avoiding cancer-causing chemicals, and I'll tell you a little bit about that in a second, and also looking into juicing, which we'll also talk a little bit more about. So back to the vitamin D topic. There were two doctors, Dr. John Cannell, who is one of the directors of the Vitamin D Council, and Dr. Bruce Hollis, who is a professor of biochemistry at the University of South Carolina. They published a research analysis of 16 different studies where they had looked at the correlation between vitamin D and a variety of diseases or illnesses. And they found that vitamin D deficiency was associated with nearly every single case of cancer and associated with cancer mortality, meaning that the majority of the people who are suffering from cancer and dying of cancer actually have vitamin D deficiency. And so there has been a lot more actual research conducted on the effect of vitamin D supplementation on cancer, and there's a field called Orthomolecular Medicine that you can look up, and they actually use vitamin D along with vitamin C and vitamin B as the main treatment for cancer, and it's showing some really promising results. So in fact, there are some doctors that now say that anybody who receives a cancer diagnosis should be tested for vitamin D deficiency and should take a vitamin D supplement, because as I just mentioned a little bit ago, vitamin D, one of the ways in which vitamin D supports the body in healing is that it promotes cell apoptosis, where cells self-destroy when they detect themselves as being unhealthy. And so that's a key way in which tumors can shrink, because those cells are destroyed. Then when it comes to antioxidants, keeping your cells healthy, as I mentioned, it's eating lots of colors from nature, trying to get green vegetables in your diet every single day. I sometimes, with my clients, I say, let's do a challenge for a week and have green vegetables, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. How can you get green vegetables in? And so you can make a smoothie for breakfast and add kale or chard or spinach into your smoothie. You can have a big salad for lunch and add lots of colors in there. And then with dinner, you can have broccoli or green beans or asparagus or any other sort of green vegetable. So it's definitely doable. We talked, you saw in that slide that you want to drink lots of clean water, and you want to avoid cancer-causing chemicals. For that, I highly encourage you to visit the Environmental Working Group's website, and I'll have that website for you at the end of the show. The Environmental Working Group website has a lot of information on millions or thousands, not millions, thousands of chemicals that are in our household products, our personal care items, and how some of those have been known to promote cancer. So you can look up your personal care items, the ones that you have at home. You can look up the brands and see what chemicals are in them that might be linked to cancer. And they also have a great resource for looking up products that are chemical-free. You know, what are the products that they recommend for toothpaste or deodorant or household cleaners or dish detergents. So you can use their resources to help you clean out the chemicals from your household. The Environmental Working Group, they actually have been doing an ongoing study or survey of 2,300 Americans, and they're finding that every single adult in that study has at least 126 chemicals in their are exposed to 126 chemicals on a daily basis from their products, and that actually in their blood we have an average of 450 chemicals that can be found. So, you know, whether any single one of those chemicals is creating an issue, we don't know, but when we have 450 of them in our body, you know, it's feasible that those chemicals start to have an effect on our immune system, on promoting inflammation. So they're a great resource for us to research how to get some of those chemicals out of our environment or household as much as we can. And then juicing was the final strategy on that cancer prevention list. Juicing is, I think of it as the most natural supplement that you could take, because you're taking lots of vegetables and fruits and putting them through a juicer, and then you're getting a couple pounds of produce in a glass. And so you're getting all of the greens and the purples and the oranges in a condensed form. And so talk about getting lots of antioxidants all at once in a way that your body can really naturally decode. I believe that we're far from understanding how the chemistry in nature interacts with our body. Our body just naturally decodes the chemistry in nature in ways that we simply don't understand. And juicing is a great way to facilitate those nutrients, bring them into our body. So I want to switch gears a little bit and tell you about alternative cancer treatments or alternative approaches that other people have been following, and I invite you to research them and look up the information and make your own opinions about it. One of them is the Gerson treatment. You can look up Max Gerson is the doctor who initiated this modality. It's based mostly on nutrition. It's mostly a food-based approach. And essentially what they do, they have an incredible amount of juicing as a core part of their treatment. So an individual going through the Gerson cancer treatment would drink about 13 glasses of juice on a daily basis. So almost hourly, they're drinking a full glass of juice. And it's mostly vegetable juices, green vegetable juices with some apples and carrot juice. They also eat a fully vegetarian diet. There's absolutely no meat in the Gerson treatment. It's entirely a vegan diet, and it's 3 meals a day, and people can also snack on fruit. And then they have certain supplements that they include in this diet, and another key element in the Gerson treatment is coffee enemas. They have a method for doing coffee enemas, and you can go on the Gerson website and look up what it is that the how it is that the coffee enemas work. They look at coffee enemas as a detoxification tool that there are certain compounds in the coffee that go from the rectum directly to the liver and trigger detoxification of the liver through bile excretion and obviously flushing of those toxins through the colon. So they're doing multiple coffee enemas throughout the day, and a very specific dietary approach. They also have certain guidelines for the people who can do the Gerson treatment and people who should not consider doing the Gerson treatment. So that's all on their website, which I'll have for you at the end of the show. There are a couple books that you can check out. Charlotte Gerson is Max Gerson's daughter, and she wrote the book called Healing the Gerson Way. And Max Gerson's book is A Cancer Therapy Results from 50 Cases. So that's one approach that has shown, so you can see these books here, and I'll have these books at the end of the show as well. The third one is the cancer treatment, was the Max Gerson approach. So we'll have that slide again for you, because there are a few other books that I want to tell you about. So then another completely different cancer treatment approach is the ketogenic diet. It's almost the polar opposite of the Gerson treatment. So a ketogenic diet eliminates almost all carbohydrates except for non-starchy vegetables. So you eliminate all sweet vegetables, all grains and starches, any sort of sugar, and what you're eating is mostly a diet that's very high in healthy fats. You want to think avocados and coconut oil and protein from fish and animal protein, other animal protein, chicken and meat, and lots of non-starchy vegetables, so spinach and kale, chard artichokes and asparagus, onions and mushrooms and all sorts of vegetables like that are not sweet. So the basic premise of the ketogenic diet is that cancer cells feed from glucose, that they thrive on glucose, and that sugar essentially feeds and promotes cancer proliferation. That's their basic premise. And also, they understand that even though their diet includes protein as a key food, excess protein can also fuel cancer. So essentially what they're looking at is the standard American diet that's very high in starch and protein, breads and pastas and sweet vegetables and sweet foods and lots of protein, tend to be the ideal diet that promotes cancer. So their approach is dropping all of those starches, moderating the amount of protein that they eat, but really focusing on all of the non-starchy vegetables and healthy fats. One of the main proponents of that diet is Dr. Thomas Seyfried, and he has a book called Cancer as a Metabolic Disease on the Origin, Management, and Prevention of Cancer. And again, I'll have that book for you to see in a minute. And they also incorporate the concept of intermittent fasting in the ketogenic diet, where instead of eating every couple of hours, you really want to have wide windows in between your meals. So you're fasting for 12 or maybe 15 or 16 hours from the time you had dinner at night till the next day, having a really wide window of fasting, and then focusing on eating the bulk of your meals, maybe just 2 or 3 meals in a window of maybe 6 to 8 hours. So that's the ketogenic approach, and some people have found that to be really promising. The other type of cancer treatment that follows a completely different avenue is called orthomolecular therapy, which I mentioned a few minutes ago, and that is heavy doses of intravenous vitamins, vitamin C, vitamin D, and vitamin B. And so you actually have to look for a practitioner who does orthomolecular therapy and find that research. Find their research and find a practitioner who can help you with that. So I want to show you those books and resources so you can take note of them and look them up. So some of the books are Prevent Cancer by Mark Tong, and this is all about your mindset and your emotions as it relates to cancer. And his premise is that really most cancers are brought on by a significant traumatic event. So that might be something that interests you in looking it up. Healing the Gerson Way is the book by Charlotte Gerson, and then A Cancer Therapy, Results from 50 Cases is the book by Max Gerson, who started the Gerson treatment. Then Thomas Seyfried wrote Cancer as a Metabolic Disease on the Origin, Management, and Prevention of Cancer. That's the book that's about the ketogenic diet and eliminating all starches and sugars. And then the last book, All Is Well, Heal Your Body with Medicine, Affirmations, and Intuition. It's written by Louise Hay and Mona Lisa Schultz, and it's all about how to look at your mindset as a critical part of your healing. And then we also have another slide with some websites for you. The Vitamin D Council is vitamindcouncil.org. That's all sorts of information on how vitamin D deficiency can be associated with a variety of conditions. The Gerson Institute is gerson.org. The Environmental Working Group website is where you can look up all the different chemicals in your household products, ewg.org. And Orthomolecular Medicine resources is orthomed.org. And then there's Lisa Rankin, who's a phenomenal medical doctor who is now preaching that it's really all about mind over medicine. Lisa with 2 S's, rankin.com. So there's food, there's your environment, there's the chemicals, and then of course there's your mindset. So I invite you to look up all of these resources. Be the champion of your health, be the steward of your health and the steward of your treatment. It's really in your hands, and I believe that choice starts with information, so I'm all about sharing information with you. I hope you found this useful, and I will see you next time.